Okay, welcome to the show. Today is March the 13th, 2016. Today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about Charles Grant, an author who was known for writing quiet horror and editing quiet horror. Great editor as well as a great writer. Chet Williamson knew him. Chet's on the show today, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Chet's he can tell us about his new book, Sanitarium, and that's out in a little under a month, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I've linked to the pre-order link on Amazon for anybody who's interested in that. Sequel to Psycho, and so on. So let's see here. Okay, Pete? What prize do you have to give away? You have a Charles Grant book to give away, don't you?
Oh yes, I have the Donald Grant edition of Dark Cry of the Moon.
Oh wow, great!
An oldie but a goodie. Came out in 1985 with illustrations by R.J. Kuprowitz. Not
All
bad.
right.
So,
Well, for the benefit of those who are listening on the, audio podcast later instead of watching the show, I'm Mike Davis. I publish Lovecraft e-zine, and let's go down the row here. Rick, say something about yourself real quick.
I'm Rick Lay, and I've written books on Doc Savage and the Shadow, mainly studies of the series, and I've also occasionally written Lovecraftian fiction for anthologies like Legacy of the Reanimator.
Well, that's a great segue into Pete Rawlick.
I'm Pete Rawlick. I'm the editor of Legacy of the Reanimator. I wrote the novel Reanimators and the novel Weird Company.
And Joe.
Joe Pulver wrote a couple of novels. One's weird fiction, one's Lovecraftian. I have 4 mixed genre collections out. I'm also an editor. Shirley Jackson award-winning editor. And I'm probably most known for my advocacy of Robert Chambers' King in Yellow.
Okay, then we have Chet Williamson joining us. Chet, you've got Sanitarium coming up.
Right, Psycho-Sanitarium is the whole word. If they look for Sanitarium, God knows what they'll find. But, it's Psycho-Sanitarium. Sometimes with a colon, sometimes without.
Okay.
So, no, it just depends. I think it's officially with a colon. Psycho-Sanitarium.
Ah.
So, Charles Grant. We'll talk about this till we run out of steam, but I never met Charles Grant. He died in 2006. But I've been a fan of his work for quite a while. I'm a big fan of quiet horror. He was a writer who, if you read his books, that's exactly what he wrote. And his anthologies tended that way as well. Why don't we start this way? Because I know Rick's going to talk a little bit about Charles's Greystone Bay. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ox Run Station, but why don't we start with Chet? And because Chet, you knew him. How did you meet Charles Grant, and maybe go from there, whatever you want to talk about?
Sure. I think I met Charlie for the first time at the very first World Fantasy Convention back in 1975 in Providence, and Charlie was pretty well known in the field by that time, and he was on a number of panels. He was on like a new writers panel back in those days. I mean, let's see, I think Dave Drake was on that. A couple of guys now who are old-timers, but back then they were new voices in fantasy and that kind of thing. And I remember Charlie, he was very, very cynical, very acerbic, very funny, and very cool. He wore some paisley shirt, and I was always smoking a cigarette, and just a very dry and witty kind of guy. And I really didn't get to know him well until a couple of years later, when I started publishing myself, and got to know him through going to Nikon, the Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island convention that was primarily for writers and heavy fans, and only about 200 people. So you could go to those cons and really have a great time meeting the people that, you know, whose works you had been reading for years and years. And both Laurie, my wife, and I just kind of fell in love with Charlie. He was just a really funny guy, easy to get along with, but just a cutting wit that was absolutely wonderful. And yeah, so we stayed pretty much in touch really through the end of Charlie's life, when he was in a long-term member of a hospital, was in a facility, and I think what he actually had was COPD, and it just kind of wore him down. But we visited him a couple times when he was in the hospital, and of course knew Kathy Ptasek, his wife, and great woman, good writer too. And yeah, so Charlie, you know, we kind of went through the HWA thing together when Charlie was the president of HWA, and he was always active in that, and so was I for a long time. And yeah, I mean, he was just a terrific guy. I would always love running into him at NeatCon, because he'd always be, they had these wooden fences out there, and Charlie would have one foot up on one rail and be leaning on it like that with a cigarette. He looked like a Marlboro man, but it was, Charlie was always great to talk to, fun on panels and great at parties, and all around terrific guy, and one hell of an editor and a really good writer.
Yeah, and from what I can gather, he was a bit of a mentor type, or if correct me if I'm wrong in this, or at least an advocate. James Moore, I noticed a blog post by James Moore earlier today where he said Charlie Grant got onto him when he found out that he sold 4 or 5 of his novels without an agent. You know.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. I'm sure there have been a lot of writers who were influenced by Charlie and who Charlie mentored, because he did find a lot of good young writers when he was editing the Shadows series, and those people probably started because of Charlie and his influence.
Yeah, I've got a few of those right here.
Oh yeah. I was in the very last one. Took me that long to crack that market.
Oh really? What number is that?
Final Shadows, yeah. And I'd been in an anthology edited called The Sea Harp Hotel, Greystone Bay, the hotel in Greystone Bay.
This is it.
Yeah, that's it.
This is it.
What is it?
The Sea Harp Hotel. It was about a hotel where very strange things happened, and it was Charlie's creation, and it was sort of a shared world anthology. Anthology. Charlie edited concerning.
Yeah, Rick, you're more familiar with Greystone Bay, aren't you?
Yeah, we can talk about that. There were 4 books in all. There was Greystone Bay. There was Doom City, which Pete owns a copy of, correct? Pete's nodding his head. And he thinks this is the only Cthulhu Mythos story in the series that's in this volume. But actually, in the Sea Harp Hotel, which has Chet's story, The Library, there's a story by Thomas Monteleone called No Pain, No Gain, which is a Cthulhu Mythos story, and you learn in there that Greystone Bay is somewhere close to Arkham because Miskatonic University plays a large role in that story. And in the final volumes, it was 4 volumes in all, was In the Fog. And basically what Charles Grant did, he wrote the intros for the first 3 volumes and sort of set up the setting for each anthology. And in the 4th one, he writes the final story where the whole place gets destroyed.
That was his right.
Yeah, I mean, he created it. He created what he destroyed what he created.
Yeah.
Well, I notice in Shadows 4, the first story is The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Ramsey Campbell's in Shadows 4, William Gibson, bunch of other folks.
Those were great books. Thomas Monteleone's in them. He had Tanith Lee in there.
Was Ted Klein's Petey in Shadows 2?
Let me see if I have that one over here.
That's they're in the other room.
I do not know because I don't have it here.
I think it might have been. I could be wrong, but that was an incredible story.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you mention his name, a lot of people will mention him in terms of being such a great editor, and
yeah,
you know,
I haven't read a lot of his things he wrote, but the Shadows stuff is absolutely an incredible series of anthologies. It's important. You know, Lafferty was in at least one. Block, like I said, Tanith Lee. It just much like what you see with Ellen Datlow's books. It's like we were seeing this wonderful cornucopia of who we should be reading. His taste in writers was excellent.
Yeah.
And this was all during the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, it seems like
Final Shadows came out when 91 or not. I'm looking at his bibliography here.
78 for Shadows 1. Shadows 10 is 87. The Final Shadows in 91.
91. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I've got I'm looking at Shadows 5 right now, copyright 1982. So.
Yeah. And I think Beth Massey, I believe Elizabeth Massey had a story in Shadows that won the Stoker. That I think, unless it was another anthology, but I keep thinking it was in one of the Shadows things.
It wouldn't surprise me. There must have been at least a lot of things in the various Shadows anthologies that were nominated, if not won awards.
Absolutely.
These were just rock solid. These were you started. You know, it's been almost a year. You know, you start looking through the shelves, but it wasn't just Shadows with him. I mean, he must have had 6, 7, 8, 9 other anthologies.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Gallery of Horror, I believe, is one of them. I've got back on the
there were 3: Nightmares, Horrors, and Terrors, and Fears that I remember, and Midnight. And then he also did one of the Night Visions volumes. He did the second volume. Yeah.
Because it seems like there was a whole bunch that were one-word titles.
Yeah.
You know, like Horrors and
Midnight, Terrors. Yeah, they were really good too.
I mean, here's somebody in a space of a dozen years or so, 15, put out 20 incredible anthologies. This is a very notable anthologist.
Yep, absolutely.
Man, he must have been working 10, 12-hour days, Chet. You know.
Well, he wrote so much too.
See, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Under different pseudonyms, comedy, fantasy novels, and comic horror, and incredible. Yeah. Does anyone know, are the Shadows books still in print at all? I mean, I don't think they are in paper, but I'm just wondering if anybody's been.
I thought there was a best of floating around, and then like on Amazon, there's all kinds of used copies for a penny or a nickel or whatever. I mean,
they're not in print, but to answer, I mean, someone started to put out, whoever's in charge, started to put out some of his short fiction on Kindle.
Right.
Nightmare Seasons is now on Kindle for
I
$4.99.
think that was Nikon ebooks, Nikon Press, Nikon ebooks. They have a series, and I know they did some of the short story collections. But as for Shadows, I just don't know. Every one of those volumes, though, I think should be in ebook accessible.
Well,
You know,
like I said, there's like a best of that's in print, but all the rest of them aren't. I don't know. Perhaps because of who is in them. I mean, all those contracts would have to be redone.
yeah,
And
they would.
when you stop and look at Stephen King and Lafferty and there's this guy Chet Williamson. These are all big names now.
That Williamson guy, I'll just say, sure, go ahead and print it. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, print it. Who cares?
I just figured we better get Chet in this month because after next month he's going to be way too popular to come on this show.
Yeah, your words to God's ear, whatever.
Well, he was. I mean, when you talk about Charles Grant, you're talking about a guy who edited a hell of a lot of anthologies, wrote a hell of a lot of novels, and has quite a few collections of short stories. You know.
Yeah.
And Rick, I don't know if you've gotten to these yet. I sent an email to you and Pete a few weeks ago, but the I don't even remember what the series is called, but there was like 3 in Ox Run Station, which is set in what was then the present day, you know, early 80s or whatnot. He set these 3 novels in Ox Run Station like 100 years back, and you know the Universal monsters were in each one of them. Dracula was one, and the Wolfman was one, and the Mummy was another one.
No. I haven't gotten those yet.
Yeah, I've started the Mummy one, and I'm really enjoying it.
What exactly is Ox Run Station?
Well, Ox Run Station's another weird town. You know, I don't know the differences between it and Greystone Bay because I haven't delved into those yet.
Well, I think you started Ox Run Station first, and I think there are a lot more Ox Run Station stories.
There are a lot. There's not only Ox Run Station novels. There's Ox Run Station collections like Dialing the Wind, where there's several Ox Run Station short stories, and they tie in with each other only in the slightest of ways. You know, you could potentially read one of these short stories and not read another one, and still get the gist. You know, get everything you needed. But he did tie them in, and in an Ox Run Station novel, like I read The Grave recently, reread it. He refers to other characters that were the protagonists in other earlier novels. You know, so I think The Last Call of Morning that protagonist was mentioned in The Grave. So, but yeah, Ox Run Station. I found a really cool blog called Too Much Horror Fiction, and for anyone interested, it's definitely worth a look. TooMuchHorrorFiction.blogspot.com, and this guy's obviously a big fan of Charles Grant too. His name is Will Erickson, the writer of this blog. Here's what he has to say on Ox Run Station. While not as well known as Lovecraft's Arkham or Innsmouth or King Salem's Lot in Castle Rock, the fictional town of Ox Run Station, created by Charles L. Grant, was the setting for many of his tales of quiet horror and dark fantasy. Beginning in 1979, when The Hour of the Ox Run Dead was published in paperback, the various editions of the series show an interesting evolution in the marketing of horror fiction. This is mainly about the covers, and then later the tour, really cool tour covers that they did. But that's a little bit about the town itself.
What part of America is that town?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's New England. He doesn't get specific that I've seen.
Okay, but it's in the New England area. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Another page on this same block, he talks about Charles Grant. He starts off with moonlight over a lonely town, swirling fog, whispering shadows, footsteps in the forest. A voice from the darkness, a movement seen from the corner of your eye, a slowly spreading stain of red. New Jersey born writer and editor Charles L. Grant championed these hallmark details of old-fashioned horror tales, even in spite of their simplicity, their overuse, indeed, their corniness, because he knew that in the right hands such subtle details would build up to an overall mood of dis-ease and weirdness. Evoking fear of the unknown, not the graphic revelation of a psychopath with an axe or an unimaginable, insane Lovecraftian nightmare is truly what a successful horror writer should do, especially during the 80s when he published dozens of titles. Through the horror books, horror line, Charles did precisely that. So, probably much better than I could have put it. Again, that's from toomuchhorrorfiction.blogspot.com. But, yeah, I mean, it's another town where these weird things happen, you know, so...
I always
Kind of
wondered why
place we all love.
kept living there, you know.
What's
Same
that?
with- well, I've always wondered why people kept living there. Why didn't they just move out? You know, it's like with Jules, the old Jules de Grandin stories and weird tales. What was it? Was it
Harrisonville, New Jersey.
Harrisonville, New Jersey?
Yeah.
I'd get the hell out of Harrisonville, New Jersey if all that stuff was taking place.
Well, it's
I
probably
think-
the same reason why people live in earthquake country or similar, right?
Well, it was also like Chicago in the Kolchak the Night Stalker series.
No.
I was going, why does every monster go to Chicago?
Because there's a hellmouth there, that's why.
Sunnyvale.
Yes, who would live in Sunnydale?
That was one of the wisdoms of Buffy. We had a reason why everything happened there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in the grave, the protagonist remembers his father telling him as a kid that, you know, weird and strange things happen in the town sometimes, and at the time the guy passed it off as his father was just, you know, making a joke. And then years later he thinks, well, maybe there was something to what my dad said.
Well, in Greystone Bay, there was I don't remember it exactly, but there was an explanation why everything was weird going on there. It had to do with the way the town was settled.
Yeah. Of all the Ox Run Station novels and stories I've read, I don't remember there ever being an explanation. But
You don't. Sometimes an explanation can be very well done and it works great and it's wonderful. Other times, the mystery is what keeps us turning pages. You know,
Yeah. Now, here's another series that Mr. Grant did that I'm a big fan of. Oh, and by the way, for all the X-Files fans out there, this isn't it, but it just made me think of it. He did write, I believe it was, Chet, 2 X-Files novels.
I believe it was 2. Yeah.
Yeah. In the 90s, when the show was in its heyday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So.
And they were official. They were the official novels. Yeah, 2, Goblins and Whirlwind.
Yeah.
And then he did sort of an X-Files type thing with the with Black Oak.
Yes, with Black Oak. Yeah, that's what I was holding up.
Oh,
exactly.
Is this Black Oak? Yeah.
Yeah. This is the 3rd one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a really big fan of these Black Oak. There was 6 of them, if I'm remembering correctly, and it's the main guy in the story is a guy by the name of Ethan Proctor who runs a detective agency. And they do a lot of normal detective stuff. There's, I don't know, probably half a dozen people working for him. And there are a lot of normal investigations that happen outside, you know, off screen or off panel, you'd say in the comic books we were talking earlier. But these books are focused on the supernatural investigations. And then there's an overall, just like the X-Files, there's an overall mythology to it as well. So, but you know, I wonder sometimes when I'm reading a Charles Grant novel, I wonder, you know, it was written in the 70s or 80s, I wonder how much an unknown would have trouble publishing some of that today, because he takes his time. I love that fact, but the old man in me says these aren't for young people. You know?
Well, back in the old days of the 70s and 80s of which you speak, especially in the 80s, and then from the mid 80s on, it got into there were really two groups of horror. At least some people put it that way. There was the quiet horror that Charlie and other writers of his type espoused, and then there was splatterpunk. And when splatterpunk came along, the difference seemed all the more greater. It was almost a tempest in a teapot because there were a lot of writers who really weren't either, but sort of sat in between, you know, every degree on the scale. And you had some extremes at both ends. But I remember everybody, you know, every panel, every convention had a splatterpunk versus quiet horror panel, and
Really?
it just, yeah, after a while it just got, yeah, we're both here and we're both happy writing what we want to write.
Yeah,
And,
well,
yeah,
but that really hasn't dissipated. We still have these panels where what's this and what's that, and what do we want to call this, and how extreme is that, and how, you know, that's for critics and librarians. For us who are writers, we sit down with a blank screen or our notebook and a pencil, and we engage in trying to tell a tale, whatever shape or form it takes. It's only when it's done, perhaps, and we start thinking about where is it going or what are we doing with it, where I think we're forced to start thinking about, well, what is it?
Right. Yeah.
This particular Black Oak book that I'm holding up right now, for those listening later, it's called Black Oak Hunting Ground, though I highly recommend you read these in order. This is the third one. This has got to be my favorite of the six. One of Ethan Proctor's employees decides that she tells him that he needs a vacation and won't take no for an answer, so he goes to Atlantic City with two of his male employees. You know, they're just, the boys are going to go have a good time in Atlantic City for a week or something like that. And of course they can't, be a pretty short book if this didn't happen, but of course they go to Atlantic City and mayhem of the supernatural variety. But you know, it's not just the quiet horror. He's so good at setting. He really makes me think of those old Universal horror movies. You know, this particular setting, it's, I think it's like January, February in Atlantic City, and it's, the hotel's right on the ocean, and it's always this cold rain, and you know, the setting of the ocean right there, and it really lends it. It's just another character in the book. You know, the location is. He's very, very good at that.
He was a real master of mood. You know, I mean, Charlie would take, in a novel, he would take the first, I don't know how many pages, just to set the mood, to make the reader see it, take him into that environment. And in short stories, he often did the same thing. The first paragraph, just setting that mood. And, you know, it's a shame that people don't have more patience for that today, both as writers and readers, because it can be very effective.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, you stop and think about Ted Klein's The Ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the opening of that. Same kind of thing. I mean, we all love it, respect it. It's a classic. But to a lot of readers nowadays, it just, when does the story start?
I know.
Which is, you know.
Yeah, by the way, thanks to Brett George on the message board, he just reminded me. He says, by the way, Ox Run Station is set in New Jersey, to answer your question, Rick.
Oh, okay. So it's near Harrisonville.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, yeah.
Strangely enough. So probably there's no reference to that.
Yeah.
And then I also found a minute ago on, again, at that Too Much Horror Fiction blog, I was talking about those three, you know, the Dracula, Wolfman, and the Mummy, those three novels set in the 19th century. Here's what Will Erickson has to say. In 1981, Grant spoke with specialty publisher Donald M. Grant, no relation, ruefully noting that the classic monsters like Dracula, the Mummy, and the Wolfman had become objects of fun and affection and breakfast cereal, rather than the figures of terror that they had been intended. As a lark, the two Grants decided to produce new novels featuring the iconic creatures, although still in a 19th century setting. All three take place in Grant's own fictional Connecticut town. Well, he says Connecticut. Brett says Oxford Station. I don't remember. Connecticut town of Oxford Station, the setting for about a dozen of his novels. So,
Connecticut now. I'm going to look this up. It's starting to bother me now. Where is Oxford?
Yeah.
You probably look it up in Wikipedia and see what they.
Yeah, you know, I had always thought New Jersey.
I'm gonna bet on. I think it's Connecticut. I think I remember Connecticut.
Yeah.
So.
Connecticut. Wikipedia says Connecticut.
Okay.
It's probably Connecticut.
Yep.
Is Greystone Bay in New Jersey, or what did you say, Rick?
Greystone Bay is somewhere. It's in New England. I don't think if he mentioned a specific state, but it seems to be Massachusetts.
Mm.
At least it's a place where a Miskatonic University professor would go on vacation. And and if you read it, he's doing an experiment. He's carting back and forth between Miskatonic University and Greystone Bay. So it can't be too far. It's not New Jersey. I think that it's got to be in the New England area if he's going out of state.
Bueno's got a bay.
Yeah. It might be in Maine, but it's got to be somewhere close to Massachusetts.
Well, maybe that's what Brett's thinking of. Maybe it's in New Jersey. Who knows?
Yeah. I was trying to look up in the intros, but I couldn't see any states there. Just browsing.
Stephen King has some awfully nice things to say about him. He wrote the introduction to Tales from the Night Side, copyright 1981.
It was originally in Arkham, wasn't it? Arkham House?
In fact, Stephen King mentions that in the introduction. Well, let me read what he says about that. The stunning, at least to me it seems stunning, fact of the matter is this. If you're holding the Arkham House edition of Charlie Grant's book in your hot little paws, the chances are very, very good that you have met the man either in person. He travels tirelessly to science fiction and fantasy conventions across the United States, spreading not the gospel of Charles Grant, but the gospel of fantasy as an honorable and uplifting form of literature and storytelling. Or you've met him through his work, which has been fairly prolific. So yeah, I've never seen that edition, but that was my first clue that it had been.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that one, and it's really fitting that Charlie should have had an Arkham House collection, because he was right in that tradition, really, of quiet horror. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Chet. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Charlie really was loved in the field too, and one thing that I was really happy about was that this book, I don't know if you can get it there, but it's called Quietly Now.
Okay.
Keelan and Patrick Burke edited this for Borderlands Press, for Tom Monteleone's Borderlands Press. Okay. And it was an anthology in tribute to Charlie. And people wrote their stories, and it was just great. And fortunately, it was around while Charlie was still living. Too many times we get these wonderful memorial anthologies that come after they're gone. But I have to show you this. This was a Gahan Wilson.
Oh my gosh!
Gahan Wilson picture of Charlie that he did for this collection.
That is awesome.
Really cool. Really cool. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you're on the show, because I had no clue about that.
Yeah, people love Charlie. I don't know if this book is available in any format or not. I know that I'm pretty sure it's out of print from Borderlands, because it was originally a signed and numbered copy with everybody who had. Stephen King did a piece for it, and different people did appreciations of Charlie, as well as short stories in his style. But
well, it looks like it's
only $285 on Amazon.
Cheapest copy is $285.
There you go. There, we need an ebook. We need an ebook. Yeah.
It does say special. Okay, so there was only one edition. They were all signed and numbered. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying, Chet?
Yeah, I believe
Okay,
so. Yeah, because
that's what
this
that says.
Yeah, apparently, because it's one of the things Amazon shows is a signature page.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
And
So King is on
see
here,
that
and
the signatures are in different colored ink and stuff as well. So,
yeah.
F. Paul Wilson, Peter Straub, Stephen King, Bentley Little.
Chet
Chet
Williamson, whoever
Williamson.
that is.
Sorry for that. And what was really lovely about this one was that, I don't probably can't see this, but it says this first edition of Quietly Now has been printed and bound especially for Chet Williamson.
Oh, that is
So
great.
if you were a contributor to the book, you had a special printed page that had your name on it. Which is lovely.
Wow,
Very nice.
that's interesting and different because even with the Centipede Press limited stuff,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's ever. This is your copy,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat.
If you feel like it, Chet, can Stephen King says, as I read a minute ago, travels all these conventions, spreading the gospel of fantasy as an honorable and uplifting form of literature and storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Oh, wow.
Or just the way he would act at these conventions and what he
Well,
would talk about.
it wasn't so much that, I mean, when he was in panels, he would talk about the serious aspects of horror and fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Charlie was more, when I saw him at cons, it was more just almost like a very quiet cheerleader for horror fiction, for well done horror fiction. Charlie was always very adamant about keeping the quality of horror fiction at a high level. And I think because of that, it was really hard to get for people to get stories in Shadows. Like I said, I wasn't able to sell him one until the very last volume, Final Shadows. But well, actually, he started them before I was even writing. They do go back a long way, but still, I mean, if you got a story in Shadows, you really felt good about it, because Charlie was a tough editor, and he would work. Talking about the mentoring process, he would work with writers. If they would send him a story that he didn't think was quite right, was quite up to the level, he would work with them. And he would tell them, what if you did this? What if you did that? Make suggestions. And then they would come back, and if they, did what he felt the story needed, he would buy the story from them after they resubmitted it. But he just was a meticulous editor. And yeah, I don't know what more to say about him than that. But
well, I'm glad you used the word cheerleader because if we look at Wagner or Grant or Datlow, I think all the great editors really are, in addition to be great editors and caring about the level of the fiction, they are great cheerleaders.
mm-hmm.
They are the kid in high school who just bought the new Moby Grape record, and it's like, you got to come over and hear this. This is incredible. I mean, because sharing that thrill with other people because let's face it, editors and writers, we're just readers. We just happen to do something in addition to that. But we all started as readers. We all love this stuff. It pushes our buttons and gets our juices flowing. I think any editor worth their salt has got to be enthusiastic, or their work, or the work won't be there. The quality of the work won't be there.
Yeah.
And I'm not one who read much of his fiction, but the Shadows books are, they're on a shelf in the other room. They're benchmark for me.
Yeah, they are.
I looked forward to them. Um, thought he was a great editor.
Mm-hmm. Really
Well,
was.
King wrote in this introduction that he thought of a line here. He thought of the line, "Here is a man who needs no introduction." And I was thinking when I read this that that was absolutely, obviously true at the time. But you know, a lot of younger readers today, I wanted to just take a few minutes and do a show about Charles Grant because maybe he does need an introduction to, you know, people who are, I don't know, under the age of 30 or so, and um, you know, just to let those readers know that here's a hell of a lot of books. If you like quiet horror, this is the guy to read.
Yeah, well,
You know?
and you're right, Mike, because as much as I hate to call him a past master, these are guys who are now, unfortunately, in the shadows. There's so much out there. There's so much that comes out every month, and really quality work. That when someone isn't here, isn't active, their things are moved into the background, unfortunately. Um, so no, it's great to bring these guys back to the front of the stage and turn the spotlight on them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because a lot of the writers that people are so enjoying now, an editor like Charles Grant is somebody who influenced us, who's, you know, we read those books, we love those books. What we got through osmosis, that went into our toolbox. And in some ways, we bring that forward. We may not say, you know, Charles Grant, whatever, but that's somebody who put necessary tools in our craft. We would. He's one of the guys too that transition us. I mean, we look at 50s, 60s, early 70s anthologies, and then take Shadows. Shadows is changing the literature. It's there's a lot of pulp. You know, we're now in this, you know, literary horror renaissance or whatever. Grant's important to us getting there. He's one of the. Not only was he a finger post, but he's one of the guys who was doing the work. He was paving the road for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Coincidentally, I see that because I just looked this up recently. I see that the Black Oak series, looks like as of the 3rd of this month was put on Kindle. So
I know Crossroad Press has been doing some of Charlie's stuff.
Oh, okay.
Or they're planning to, I believe. So I don't know if it was them.
Well, here's what I see so far of his work on Kindle. Nightmare Seasons is on Kindle. You know, for those who have a Kindle, you're watching or listening to this show, and you're like, I got to read some of this stuff immediately. You know, and you know, you can definitely start with Nightmare Seasons for some short stories set in Ox Run Station. And then, like I said, I really like the Black Oak series. It's $3.99 on Kindle. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Well, you go to Amazon. Those most of those Shadows anthologies are really cheap.
Oh yeah, I think you can get them for a penny plus shipping.
Dash out and buy the first 3, and take, you know, note when they came out and read these things. These are amazing little, in their own way, in addition to being so wonderful, they're wonderful little historical documents if you cast them in light of what had been coming out for the 10 years before that.
Now, when you're finding the cheap Shadows, are they paperbacks or?
Yeah, they're paperbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, Nightmare Seasons here. There's an edition that's $3.35, $11.80, and then In the Fog, the Final Chronicle of Greystone Bay. Looks like there's a few of them for a penny
Oh,
plus shipping. So
because I know
those,
the Doubleday, the hardcover shadows are a little.
there's no way these are hardcover.
Crazy.
No.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about papers. You know, the mass market paperbacks.
Yeah.
Which is that's how I bought them. Most of them, not all of them, but.
And you know, back when they were coming out, you could almost buy every horror anthology that came out because there weren't a ton back then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you could really keep up with it. Today, not so much.
And the other thing about back then is you really, on my part, I really wanted them because you were getting a new story by somebody that you'd just been turned on to. Let's say Tanith Lee. And then whether it was Wagner or Grant or nowadays with Datlow, there's always a couple of people you never heard of who are destined to become favorites.
Yeah.
That's another sign of a great editor who, here's a great story by a big name with somebody you never heard of. Or barely heard of.
Yeah.
Well, so whether you're into paper or whether you're into print or Kindle, they're very affordable. There's a lot of paperback editions for under $1 or just a couple of bucks. It looks like they're getting more and more of Charlie Grant's work onto Kindle. Again, I love them all. I can't say enough about this series. It's great. The Black Oak series.
By the way, I checked. That is Crossroad Press is doing that.
Okay.
In ebook form, and I think Nikon Classic ebooks are doing the short story collection. So you've got two ebook publishers who are actively publishing Charlie Grant's stuff, which is great.
That's good because more people will discover his work.
Yeah.
You're on your Kindle, you're browsing through that Kindle store, and then you see, this just published on Kindle, and maybe grab it. And I know, though, I probably said this before, but those three 19th century novels set in Oxford Station, the three monster ones, those are on Kindle too. So for anybody interested in those, I know Rick's going to get to those at some point because that's kind of his thing.
Somewhere down the line.
So anyway, thank you, Chet, for being on the show and for talking about Charlie Grant.
Oh yeah, happy to.
So. We got some other stuff to talk about. You're welcome to stay, or you can take off, whatever you want to do.
Did you want to talk about that
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm glad you reminded me.
Without giving too much away,
I've got
it's
such
like,
a
for us big Robert Bloch wackos,
Yes, so it's Psycho Sanitarium.
Yeah.
And it comes out in just under a month, I believe.
April 12th. Yeah.
So, like Joe said, spoiler free, but can you talk about it?
I can talk a little bit about it. Well, Bob Bloch did 2 sequels to Psycho himself. And Psycho 2 was set, however, 20 years after the original Psycho. So Norman was much older. And what Macmillan Entertainment wanted to do, along with the Robert Bloch estate, was to have an immediate sequel. In other words, what happens right after the first book, Psycho, ends, and when he goes into the state hospital for the criminally insane. And they approached me and asked if I would be interested in doing it, and I jumped at the chance because it's basically dealing with an icon, and how often do you get a chance to do that?
Yeah, that's not something you say no to.
Yeah, Norman Bates. I can play with Norman Bates. Oh my God, yeah. So.
And I'm authorized to play with Norman Bates.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus, they're going to give me a check.
Yeah, that was good too. So anyway, I did it. They had a basic idea in mind, which could have been really expressed in a sentence or two, and I kind of tweaked it and then did a full outline and got their approval, and then went ahead and wrote it. And it really was great fun being able to deal with Norman, and with Robert Bloch's Norman, not really the Alfred Hitchcock Norman, because in Bloch's book, Norman is about 40, and he's not this tall, thin, gentle guy. He's kind of big and bulky, and so that's the Norman that is in this book. In fact, I did I got them to let me do the audiobook for it, for Macmillan Audio.
No kidding. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I finished that a week or two ago, and when it came to Norman's voice, I thought, well, now I'm not going to try and do Tony Perkins at all. So I tried to do it slightly more lower pitched, a rounder sound. So it isn't anything like Perkins. But one thing that Hitchcock's Norman had, that Bloch's Norman had originally, is that tremendous sense of vulnerability, almost childlike. As terrible as the things that he does are, he's really a very empathetic and childlike character, and I really wanted to keep that aspect of his personality, and it makes more fun to write too. You're not dealing with a monster. You're dealing with somebody whose head isn't quite screwed on right. We all go a little mad sometimes, as the man says, and it was great fun. There are a couple little homages to Bloch throughout the book that if people know Bloch's career, they might see. You don't have to know them to enjoy it, but they're just for those. They're there for those of us who might appreciate them. But yeah,
like Mr. Lay, for example.
Mr. Oh yeah, right.
Well, you've got some good great editorial reviews already. That they're
yeah. Publishers Weekly gave us a very nice review, which is always good, and so we'll see.
A solid story in its own right, they say.
Yeah.
Whenever Norman gets the spotlight, the novel feels like a lost Bloch work.
Yeah, that really tickled me. Sally Francie, who is Bloch's daughter, after she read it, she said she thought her dad would be very, very pleased with it, and that was just. I went, yeah, okay, that's what I would have liked to have heard.
Yeah, you're done. You can sit back, have a scotch. Yep.
Well, and these other guys, when you've got Andrew Vachss, F. Paul Wilson, Vax, I'm sorry, F. Paul Wilson, Kim Newman, John Shirley, and Paul Tremblay, who'll be on the show next week, by the way, reading this book and saying that it's incredible. That's got to feel great.
Yeah, Paul's quote is on the back of the jacket, along with Joe Lansdale's. So Joe was really tickled with it too, and I was glad, because I know Joe is a huge Bloch fan, and so I was glad Joe liked it. But I'm a huge Bloch fan. I grew up reading him. Probably the first stuff from Weird Tales that I ever read were the early paperbacks of Bloch's short stories, like Nightmares and More Nightmares, which were Belmont paperbacks. And boy, I love those. And then when Psycho came along, my parents took me to see Psycho when I was probably 12 years old. That would have been 1960 when it came out. And oh man, that scared the ever-loving whatever's Oh, I couldn't sleep for a long time after that. It was Mrs. Bates. Mrs. Bates, man. That image just burned into my little 12-year-old brain. And back then, 12-year-olds weren't exposed to everything that 12-year-olds are today.
Exactly. I have a 13-year-old, so yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but then I went out and I bought the paperback and read the paperback, and I went, wow, this Bloch guy's great.
And what did you think immediately after that when you read the paperback? What did you think of that versus the movie? What was going on in your mind?
I read the paperback after I saw the film, of course, and I thought the paperback was just terrific. And I just, it got into so much more depth into the character of Norman. And it was just terrific. And I just loved his style. It's such a simple, straightforward style, but it's so effective. And back around that time, with the success of Psycho, a lot of other block books were coming out, like The Couch, and there was one called Terror, I remember, which was about a novel about a Kali-worshipping cult.
Yeah,
And,
I read.
yeah, I just gobbled those things up. And then his short story collections, the early Weird Tale stuff, so good. Just so good. The Hungry House, and the Catnip, and those kind of stories where he started, and he talked about some of those later when I was actually able to meet him and talk with him and heard him speak at cons and on panels. But he would talk about constructing a story backwards, starting with a punchline and then moving backwards from there. And I think that was why I always personally became so into outlining and plotting a story before I wrote it. There are so many writers who can just have an idea and start and then go with it, and I can't do that. I've got to know where it's gone, and then I sort of have to actually work my way backwards to the beginning of the story, and then actually do the writing. But yeah, Block was a huge influence. Him and Matheson and probably Bradbury, those three guys. I just ate their stuff up. And Lovecraft when I found him, but I don't think Lovecraft was as big an influence.
Oh, love Bradbury. Oh yeah.
Bradbury's just amazing.
Yeah, and Block. I mean, when I came across Lovecraft, when the Valentine Volume 2 that had the Block story, it's like, Robert Block is writing this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because previous to that, it was Jack. I mean, Block to me was, we had such rich serial killers, and those Lovecraft Valentines are about the same time as Dangerous Visions, and here comes, Block has done Jack the Ripper, Block has done Norman, Block has introduced me to serial killers and owns the genre to this dumb kid, and all of a sudden we get Juliet.
Yeah.
My word, I don't know if there are not many stories as important to me as a story for Juliet.
Mm-hmm. Great story.
Yeah, phenomenal story. Great character.
The sequel that you wrote, that's coming out on April 12th. This is an immediate sequel, as you say. Okay.
Right.
So right after Psycho.
Right after. Yeah, 20 years before Block's Psycho 2. In fact, some people have been calling it Psycho 1.5.
Oh, cool.
Which is fine.
Very cool.
Well, I'm so sorry my brain skipped a groove there, because I did ask you here to talk about Psycho Sanitarium as well.
A writer
so
will never let you forget that. They say, hey, by the way, I might mention, I just happen to have a galley here. Yeah, we're shameless. We're shameless.
I can't. That's going to sell well, though, I would think.
Okay, well, here's a question then. You got Andrew Vax and Joe Lansdale and Tremblay. You got some writers that I really adore and worship. They gave you pretty goddamn cool blurbs.
Mm-hmm.
Big thumbs up for that. So let's say that this is a pretty good book, and let's say that it does well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you go back?
I'm sorry?
Play with Norman another time, if this does well enough?
I don't think so. I think it's a one-off, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see it happening. But I mean, nothing's impossible, So, but
no,
I don't think there's any.
You expressed your adoration to get to play in that sandbox, and I wondered. I could tell how enthusiastic you were that you got to do it, and I just wondered. Okay, did you get it out of your system, or did you go, oh man, and I got this other great idea too. So
No, because let's face it, when your character is trapped inside a mental hospital, there's only so much you can do. You know, and we didn't want to. We don't. I don't think we want to do a Norman Bates, you know, crazy detective kind of thing, because well, Thomas Harris has already done that. You know, with and yeah, it just you've got to sort of be faithful to what Block did with Psycho 2.
Right.
And in a way, Psycho 3, although I don't, or I'm sorry, Psycho House was the name of the third book. But if you've read Psycho House, I don't want to give it away, but you know that it's very difficult. It would be very difficult to do a sequel to that, or even to Psycho 2 in a way.
Right.
So
no, like
yeah.
I said, I just wondered if you were so turned on that you had some idea that could be plugged in somewhere. I agree. Once you're into 2 and 3, my recollection is, wow, it'd be pretty hard to stick anything anywhere in them or after. But I just love the idea that you're filling in the sanitarium gap.
Yeah, that
Pretty
was
cool.
fun.
It's
And
pretty exciting.
and I think everybody saw it as just a one shot, and that's it. I can't imagine any more
Okay.
after this one.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think of the current Norman Bates? I forget the name of it, guys. The
Bates
TV
Motel.
show. Yeah.
I haven't watched it.
I have not either. So.
You know, the only thing that I did was I went and I read the after I came up with my idea for the novel, I went and I read the Wikipedia synopsis to make sure that I wasn't, you know, copying anything that they did. But that's it. I'd like to, because I really love Vera Farmiga. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Plays
Yeah.
the mother. Yeah, I think she's a terrific actress. So probably I'm going to watch it one of the. I'll probably binge it one of these days. I guess it's in the 4th season now.
Oh wow.
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Were you going to say something, Rick?
Yeah, I saw the first episode, and it was good, but I had one complaint which soured me on watching any future episodes. You only see Robert Bloch's name in the end credits for about a second.
Oh jeez.
I thought it, you know, when it begins, it should be based on the book by Robert Bloch.
But see, the thing is, Universal bought Psycho, and when they bought it, they bought so many rights with it. Do you know the story of the book Psycho 2 and the movie Psycho 2? You know that?
No.
No.
Well, okay. Well, this is interesting. This
Okay.
is what happened. Universal bought the sequel, any film sequels. They bought those. But Bloch was free to write his own fictional sequels, novel sequels. So when they came to him and said in 1980, whatever it was, we would love to do a sequel to Psycho, Psycho 2. Anthony Perkins gets out of the insane asylum after 20 years and, you know, whatever. So Bloch said, okay, I'll write it. I'll write and he wrote, I guess he wrote a concept or a novel or something, and they looked at it and they said, oh my God, we can't do this. We can't do this. Because it was, I don't know if, I don't even want to say what happens at the beginning, but it was an act that they found really terrible, that this, if they had the character do this, Norman Bates would never be sympathetic again. Well, Bloch said, okay, you don't want to do it, fine. Then you go do your own, and I'll write this book. And so Bloch did the novel that he wanted to do, and it was published. And Psycho 2, the movie, came out with a completely different story. And then went on, and they went on to do Psycho 3 and 4, I believe. I think there were 4 altogether. And that was it. And they just parted paths. So it's like the Marvel universes and stuff, that you have the Bloch universe and you have the Universal universe for Psycho, and Bates Motel is sort of part of that, and they just don't overlap.
It's in its own. It has no continuity with the movies.
No.
Because they said they said it all in modern times, so they don't
Right. So,
have budget.
yeah. So my book, the new one is that it's faithful to the other 3 block sequels. In other words, it doesn't do anything to break anything in those.
And then you have, of course, the upcoming Psycho 5 Norman meets Freddy, and that's in a different universe.
Yeah, I'm sure. So,
All right,
Is
so
that the
again,
one where they go to Pinhead's house?
yeah.
well, Chet, thanks for putting up with my memory, and thank you so much for being on the show.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Again, Psycho Sanitarium comes out on April the 12th. I've linked to the pre-order link. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's linked there. It's linked at the website.
Yep. And I'll be doing a few signings. So if they want to check chetwilliamson.com, I'm going to put where I'll be signing in April. So yeah, it'll be fun to see some people there.
Are you staying more or less in your neck of the woods?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be in the Pennsylvania, southeast Pennsylvania area. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Well,
guys.
Psycho Sanitarium and April the 12th. So, yeah.
Thanks. Good seeing you all again.
You too. Thanks so much, Chet.
Good talking about Charlie too.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your Sunday.
Thanks. Adios.
Adios.
Take care.
Yeah, so Psycho Sanitarium, and all you got to do is, there you go, in April the 12th. So, what'd Pete say? You had a dog problem to fix?
The dog problem.
Pete had to pop out. He said he had a dog problem. Maybe there's a werewolf in the neighborhood.
Mm.
You know, I was just looking up that Dracula connection that you were saying in Oxford Station.
Yeah.
I get the impression that trilogy is not, it's an homage to the Universal movies rather than a connection.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, it's not Dracula, it's Baron Gregor or something.
Right.
But he acts like a Universal Dracula, who is different from a Bram Stoker Dracula in many ways.
Well, there's so much to discover with Charles Grant, even after, I guess, 6 or 7 years of reading him myself personally. When I discovered him, there's still a lot to discover, and I found out about these Universal books recently, so I'm reading the Wolfman one now. All right, so let's see, what else do we have to talk about? I was hoping Kelly wasn't going to have microphone problems today because he saw 10 Cloverfield Lane and he said no spoilers, but it was very, very, very good, so I think I'll drag Danielle to see that this week. So
I heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not giving any. I'm not saying. It's done in such a way that it could stand by itself, or it could be a continuation.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that if you haven't seen the first one, you don't have to.
Yeah, just so we let that alone. But you could think it's in the same continuity, or it could be its own separate story. It's ambiguous.
Well, if there's one thing my wife loves, and by love I mean hate, it's me dragging her to a movie, a scary movie in the theater. It's bad enough at home, but so now I have an excuse to do that. I'm going to take her to see 10 Cloverfield Lane this week. Hey, there's Cody Goodfellow.
Hey, what's up? Hey, everybody.
Then he leaves.
Cody is
How's it going?
snuck in.
How are you, Cody?
Oh, real good. Real excited. We're in the final throes of that campaign, and
Like 15 hours left, something like that.
yeah, there's been a flurry of late breaking developments, which some of which I can report, some of which I can comment on, and some of which I can merely intimate through interpretive dance.
I think it's a plethora. I wouldn't say flurry. Anytime you have the chance to use the word plethora, I would
you
go
say
there.
I have a plethora of new rumors? Yeah. Why, yes, El Guapo. Yeah, I was just talking to a well-known and respected leading man in many, many cherished Lovecraftian films, who can't officially commit, but word is he's going to come and deliver some of his fantastic theatrical interpretations of Lovecraft's sonnets. He read in Portland last year and brought down the house in a meager senior center. So in a fantastic 1931 era proper theater with great acoustics, one can only imagine.
So I'm guessing it's not Nyarlathotep. Is that who you're talking about?
I'm talking about a man who's I can only say that his initials are not Schmeffrey Schmomes.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
That's who I figured.
And the person isn't bald like I am.
No. California law only allows for so many bald guys in a building, and so
that would
we don't want the fire. We don't want the fire marshal coming down on us. So yeah. That's happening. Fascinating new developments with the Dunwich Horror Picture Show live thing. I had a meeting with the burlesque troupe and with our special effects people and our technical people, and it's going to be an audio-visual smorgasbord of bizarrerie. Nothing can prepare you for how out of control this experience is going to be.
You know what? We should back up a second. For those watching, don't know what we're talking about, or listening later this week, or whenever you're listening later, we're talking about the San Pedro H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Yeah, April 29th through May 1st, 2006.
That's right. And we are in the last 16 hours of our Kickstarter campaign to buy tickets or access it via live stream, which will be hosted by the inimitable Lehman Ask Lovecraft Kessler. And that will allow you to partake of a wild array of recorded and live entertainments, including the comedy and coughing stylings of one Joseph S. Pulver Sr. And yes,
I was getting used to branching out into burlesque, but I wasn't sure about the comedy.
Also, the soulful narco corrido stylings of one Mike Davis. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Say what?
Yeah.
You know what?
What? Yeah, we're bringing in the everything in the kitchen sink. As long as you get your California visa and paperwork in order, get all your shots. Yeah.
And as long as you adhere to my strict policy of me only drinking from unsealed bottles, it has to be opened in my presence. You know, no water from the tap, none of that shit. So.
Okay, yeah. It'll be strictly 100% Nestle water, so it's probably bottled for free at your expense from where you live right now.
Bottled in a sewer in Corsican, Texas.
Water is not a right. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Just ask. Yeah.
We
won't go there.
Just ask CEO Cohagen. Yeah.
You know what? Let's stop for a second because I can't. That is one hell of a great idea. That live stream thing for the people who cannot physically make it to the film festival, and that's pretty. Talk about how affordable that is if they give to the Kickstarter the next 16 hours, and it's a really neat thing, I think.
How much is it? I'm going to look up the actual amount. It is screamingly reasonable, and
I thought it was like $5 or something, if memory serves.
I think so. It's about the same cost as attending would be for one day, and that entitles you to watch all of our short film block programs, some of our archived features, and also to watch either live or the archived interviews. The live events, we're going to have coverage of the Cthulhu Prayer Breakfast, some coverage as much as local vice laws will allow of the secret screening. And fantastic content that won't be available to the mere groundlings who are trapped in the actual theater itself. So yeah, it's a screaming deal, and find out how much it is. And
just think about it. Yeah. It's like you buy some beer and you get some pizzas and you get your weirdo friends to come over to your living room, and everybody takes their shoes and socks off, and whammo.
Yeah, and when you have a gas leak, it'll be just like the full experience.
That's right.
Yeah, be playing along with our home game. Yes.
Well, all you have to do, speaking to the audience, is just Google something like HP Lovecraft Film Festival San Pedro Kickstarter in the next 16 hours here, and you can get in on that. And I don't know if I sound like a salesman or not, but I just think that's a really neat deal for those who can't make it, and very affordable.
Or you can go to Facebook. You know, there's Mike Davis, Joe Pulver, Cody Goodfellow. There's a whole ton of people, and we got more posts about this on our Facebook pages than you can shake a shug at that. So,
yeah, nothing else is happening in our lives right now. It's actually the live stream is actually only 15 measly dollars.
Right.
Yeah,
right. Live stream level $15. That's a hell of a deal.
And we just dropped revealed the design for the Dunwich Horror Picture Show T-shirt, which was done by Nick Gucker, and it's setting the internet on fire. Good times aboard.
What other rumors you got?
We're speculating on we're working on some other things that we're gonna try and bring in, but that's as much as I can say right now. But we're jam packing it. Every dollar that we're going to see from our pledges or our attendees, everything we're taking in tickets is pretty much going right out the back door in some weirdo's pocket. We're going to have a makeup school there doing stuff. One of the rewards, you can get a portrait done with a monster. We've got some neat stuff coming in from Creature Features. From Creature Features, which is fantastic science fiction and horror memorabilia store over in Burbank. And Dapper Cadaver, who provided a lot of the charred and frozen corpses in The Revenant last year, is one of our regular sponsors. They contribute a lot of our decor. You may have seen the two-headed hillbilly guy from last year, and the Cabinet of Curiosities that accompanied our literary panel. Our literary panel is going to be insane this year. I mean, we've got, aside from the esteemed Joe Pulver, we're going to have Mike Griffin, who is going to be celebrating the debut of his first collection from Word Horde. Publisher of Word Horde, Rossi Lockhart, will also be in the house. S.P. Miskowski is going to be debuting her new chapbook, Stag in Flight. Also accompanied by
Press,
yeah, by and Sam Callan and Nick Gucker, the artist, will also be there. So yes, a
couple of great releases.
Nathan Carson, whose work you can see in Cthulhu Fhtagn, who's also 1/3 of Cassadine, who will be providing the music for our Dunwich Horror Picture Show. Fantastic author in his own right. He's also the percussionist for doom metal band Witch Mountain. He's going to be reading and hollering the loud funny words. And then local favorite Ian Welke, who did End Times at Ridgemont High last year.
A nice guy too.
Fantastic guy, a longtime friend of the fest. He'll also be here. He made good. He does good things with the weird words. And so those folks will all be reading and paneling. And this year, we're going to be doing the literary stuff in a really nice theater 2 doors down from the big theater. So we're going to have 2 tracks. We'll actually have two tracks of programming. We're going to have also we're going to have an artist panel as well, featuring our artist guest, Paul Komoda, whose work you've seen, all of the good stuff that was cut out of the Thing remake, pretty much his responsibility. Pete Bonshali, concept artist, he's worked on The Mist and a gazillion other films. Mike Dubish, Nick Gucker. Sadly, Lee Rainey Smith won't be joining us this year. We just heard that last week. But
she's ill, the poor thing.
I've not met Pete.
Lee Joyner's going to be there.
Yes. Lee Joyner and Lee Moyer.
Oh, Lee Moyer? Oh, cool.
Yeah, Lee Moyer's the artist. Lee Joyner's a makeup artist who worked on James Knauss's Giant Cthulhu Head. But yes, we'll have both the Lees. Yeah.
I've not met either of the Lees in person yet, or Pete, and I'm really looking forward to meeting SP Miskowski in person.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and she's I don't want to say a retiring or reclusive personality, but she's not a big road or convention going person, and so we pride ourselves on having the kind of low-key, mellow thing that brings out artists who aren't really that comfortable with the spotlight, and then we ambush them and make them rue it forever.
But she's
amazing.
I've spent hours Skyping with SP. She is warm and super intelligent and witty as hell, and an absolutely brilliant writer. Just an amazing writer. I can't wait.
Yeah, she and Corey are both just amazing, great company, and they'll be hanging out all weekend. And that's the cool thing about this
about the Marvel universe endlessly.
Yeah. No, we will never ever shut up. Nope.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what else is going on?
And we're gonna and there's gonna be like the dusty bottom of John Skip will be walking around at this thing.
Yeah. Maybe his top too.
Yeah, maybe we can get him on a panel to like teach us young kids like what it was like in the old days. Is he gonna kill me for that?
No, you'll get that nonstop out in front. He brings a Cracker Barrel around. But
I got a question for Cody from the audience.
Oh, really? What's up?
A.D. Borman says, please, in caps, ask Cody about how we can buy the Dunwich Horror Picture Show. Also, where there'll be a DVD later. I don't know if he's referring. He means the T-shirt.
Oh, the T-shirt is available right now as a. You can order it through our Kickstarter page. I just put the link up on Facebook. After that, you'll be able to order it through our website, through the hplff.com website, or get it from the show. And so we're going to be printing them for that after the show, unless the Dunwich Horror Picture Show becomes a going thing. And we're going to try and document the live show, at least the live portion of the show. Rights things, and also some stuff that we're going to be doing to the movie that the original makers and certainly the copyright holders would never approve if they knew. Will forbid us from making a document. Yeah, the Blu-ray comes out this week, I think, on Wednesday, and we're going to rip it. And then we're going to rip it apart and do some strange things to it. So we won't be able to release that edition. It'd be the kind of thing you would have to actually see in there. But the live stream should have quite a bit of the hijinks and hilarity. The weird thing about the Dunwich Horror versus Rocky Horror Picture Show is that Rocky Horror Picture Show is a really campy film. It's a really trashy film, but it's aware of and it knows what it's doing, and it takes everything. It takes a kitchen sink approach, whereas the Dunwich Horror so intriguingly evokes a lot of really neat, weird stuff and draws these neat connections between Eldritch horror and counterculture and hippiedom and the drug culture. But it utterly fails to pick up any of or pay out any of the checks that it writes. So we're going to be trying to load and jam pack that film, that experience, with everything that the movie either couldn't afford or was forbidden to do because of standards, taste, or just lack of perverse imagination. So. It'll be impossible one way or another to actually pack all of that into one little screen. We're going to try and bring you as much as the law will allow. There's the longest roundaboutest answer to a yes or no question you're probably ever going to get today. But yeah, the shirt at least will be available super soon.
So is that a yes on the shirt then, or?
Yes. Shirt, yes. Show, yes, and
perverse
no,
imagination,
and
check. T-shirt,
yes.
check.
Yes. Yeah. So this if you scroll down on that Kickstarter page, which we were talking about earlier, whence came the live stream information, there's also a place to order it's called the Dunwich Horror T-shirt on there.
Okay.
It says Dunwich Horror Show shirt, and that's the one with that Nick Gucker design. And
what's that priced at? I'm not seeing it. Is it part of the package?
It's probably, it's in there as part of a package. I'm not sure what the individual listings for the shirts are. I mean, usually shirts still run like $20.
Control F on this page here.
Yeah.
Only 43 mentions of the word shirt. Okay, we'll do that later.
Right. Yeah.
Take our word for it. It's on there.
Yeah.
The bargain at $673. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So wait, 25. And it'll be a two-color on. Yeah, it'll be two-color on black shirt. And we also have the poster design shirt, which is from artwork by Philadelphia's own Michael Bukowski.
Oh God, yeah, I love that poster, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he did a phenomenal job. And it looks cool on a poster. It looks really cool on a shirt. The glasses, though, I have to say, we've never had cooler looking glasses because it actually.
Yeah, the glasses look great. Wow.
It looks like a filter that's showing you what's actually in your tap water. So it's really, really gnarly. And that's shaping up. I mean, if you get our glasses every year, that's shaping up to be a really amazing set. It's way better than any set Dairy Queen ever put out.
Good to know.
Oh, you guys are big Dairy Queen glass collectors, aren't you? I've heard feelings. Anyway.
What about vendors? Talk about vendors.
What about vendors? Yeah. Aside from the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, who will come out with something weird and amazing and irreplaceable every year, we'll also have the folks from Psychographics and Arkham Bazaar, who are the vendors and lighthouse tenders up in Portland. We'll also have O1 Publishing, Dim Shores Publishing, and Word Horde, all in the house of selling their wares and letting you know what kind of a market they are and what you need to do.
O1 Publishing is Whispers from the Abyss 1 and 2, if memory
serves. That's right. Yeah, and they just released or just had a successful Kickstarter to back a graphic novel called Case File Arkham, which is sort of a noir detective eldritch horror thing. Really, really crazy, really nice art. And they should actually have copies of that in the house then. That's Kat Roca and Josh Finney. And they've done some really neat computer-assisted graphic arts in a variety of graphic novel projects from like Archaea Publishing and stuff, going back to the Ice Age. We're also going to have, I think we're getting Fezorama back. We've got a couple of different treat places, Spinning the Clay Fantastic, who make really amazing gewgaws. We're going to have the Special Effects Makeup School, who will be doing demonstrations. You can probably, if you're into face painting, you can probably get made up to look like Andrew Migliore. Yeah.
I can check that off my bucket list right now. Then.
There you go. You're one step closer.
We gotta have Lee Joyner do Mike's makeup.
Exactly. You're one step closer to a happy death. We actually have. I think we have 3 floors of vendors. I think we have like 18 slots, and I think they're completely full this year.
Wow.
I rue and lament that I can't remember every single one, but we've got more stuff than ever before because that's what people actually the most concerted request from our attendees in the past was more vendors and more time to see stuff, and so we're doing both those things. And so we've got a bunch of vendors, I think like 5 or 6 vendors that are it's their first time. So yeah, a lot of really, really cool stuff, and in a really cool neighborhood, San Pedro itself on 6th. It's a really neat arts district. So there's a neat model toy shop across the street. There's a neat hat shop down the street, a candy shop, comic books, art galleries. California's oldest bookstore is right across the street, Williams.
Oh.
Well, I thought while I was in LA, I would maybe take half a day and look up Harry Bosch, go to the LAPD, look up Harry Bosch.
Sure.
See if Angel, the vampire guy, he's still roaming around LA somewhere. It'd take some time to do those things too.
We'll take you to the Ponderosa. Yeah.
That too.
Actually, well, I'll take you to the two coolest underreported or underappreciated LA tourist sites are the 2 forest lawns over in Hollywood Hills and Glendale. I mean, aside from if you're into train spotting famous dead people, there's an art gallery at the one in Glendale. I don't know if there are any actual moai outside of Easter Island that you can actually see, but they've got one. They found it in the bottom of a fishing boat that had been used for ballast for generations. So they felt, I guess they felt justified in sneaking off with it. But
wow.
yeah, you never know what you're going to see when you go to the cemetery. They have all kinds of amazing, titillating treats for the recently bereaved. So yeah, we'll do you up right. We will leave you wanting nothing.
All right. So if you can't make it, do the virtual thing. Go to the Kickstarter. Just Google Lovecraft Film Festival, San Pedro Kickstarter. I'm sure it'll bring you right to it.
But time is running out.
Yep. 16 hours. It's 7:30 Eastern time right now, and you got 16 hours left. So.
That's right. That's right.
So if you're listening to this 24 hours from now, you are screwed.
Oh, but unless you're Joe Contour or Leah Bond, who were the winners from 2 weeks ago's drawing, 4 copies of Rapture of the Deep, you should be getting those in the mail, or damn it, I'll know the reason why.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, of course. Hey, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Cody wrote a book, for those that don't know, called Raptures of the Deep and Other Lovecraftian Tales. Is it out now, or is it a few more days yet?
March 20th from Hippocampus
20th,
Press.
right.
They're if you go to Hippocampus Press, they're taking pre-orders, and it's scary how much of a hiding small publishers must take from Amazon. That for a book that cover price is at $20, the publisher is doing pre-sales for $12.50, and not listing it on Amazon because there's still some sort of a come down once it goes to Amazon, even from like 40% off. So please take food from my children's mouths and buy this book.
Now, are there Lovecraftian stories in this book titled Raptures of the Deep and Other Lovecraftian Tales? Do you have one or two?
No.
Okay. Just general horror?
Yeah.
Vampires, right? Sparkly vampires?
Recipes, actually. Yeah. Yeah, recipes for like fairy tea party stuff I did with my 6-year-old. But the guys were ripping on me at the Kinko's, and I wanted to look like a big shot, so I put scary art on the front. But yeah, if you like tea parties and lavender scented drinks made with lawn cuttings, this book will satisfy you. Actually, bullshit. Wow. It's the gnarliest, badass modern Lovecraftian mythos book that I put out this year.
Well, you're Cody Goodfellow. I bet you it is a gnarly, kick-ass, crazy goddamn book.
Yeah, it's got 12 stories. 12 stories, 2 brand new novelettes, some really, 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 really badass stuff. I'm really super proud of it. The cover art alone took 4.5 years.
Yeah, it's only $12.50, as you were saying, if you order it between now and the 20th at Hippocampus Press. So I don't have the link up right now. It's in last week's post, but just Google Hippocampus Press and Rapture of the Deep, not Raptures, right?
Rapture,
and
yes.
I'm sure again that'll bring you right to it. So,
oh yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Cody. Hey,
Thank you.
Did you see? No spoilers if you did, but did you see 10 Cloverfield Lane yet?
No, I haven't. I'm trying to shake off the tackles. Everybody's trying to spoil it one way or another, but damn, it's polarizing. What did you think? You seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet, but I don't go to movies in the theater very often. But I'm thinking I might have to go see this one this week, as I was saying when you came on. Not only to scare my wife, but I'm afraid someone's going to give it away.
Right.
If I wait till video,
Well, that's the thing.
If I wait for the VHS edition, it's gonna. So.
Yeah, and it's like with something like Captain America, there could be spoilers. Oh, Spider-Man's eyes, squint.
Yeah, but who cares?
And crap like that. Yeah, but a horror movie, it is itself the things. Even without telling you what happens at the end of it, somebody can totally spoil it for you. So yeah, we ran out and saw The Witch as soon as we possibly could. even nobody's really talking about what's at the end of the witch, but somehow it just feels grubby and shop worn. If people have already talked about the thing, it feels a lot less like a shock. And horror should be something that you think you're getting something else, and it comes to you as a shock. And so the more that it's handled for you, and you're told what it's going to be like, it's kind of like it's sort of
or
like
even
being a
the
baby
words.
bird.
People have several times said things like, you'll love the twist at the end. Screw you, dude. I don't even want to know that there is a twist in a movie.
You've half spoiled it right there. Be sure not to leave before the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to walk out halfway through, but
the only thing you can reveal is if there's an end credit scene for a movie. I'm going to say don't leave the film.
Right, and it's like I think there should absolutely, there should absolutely be a place for people who've seen a film to talk about it. I mean, the internet should have those pockets, and it's funny when somebody will wade into a comment thread and go, "Hey, don't talk about this film. I'm not going to see it for another month." But it's weird and it's funny, but I think the end result is great for movies because it forces you, it tells you, you do have to run and go see it in the theater if you want to have a fresh experience without feeling like a baby bird where all your food's been in somebody else's mouth.
Thank you for that, Cody.
I had to just gurge that in for you.
You've ruined horror movies for me now, and eating, by the way, too. So.
Oh, that was the eating part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've spoiled my next book of recipes for you now.
Well, I have a bit of an announcement.
All right, hit it.
To film, movies, whatever. I can't say much, but I can say this. First 3 episodes of this has been greenlit. A Mountains of Madness animated series. So.
What?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
What?
I think later this week I'll be able to say more. Anybody out there listening to this, you can Google it, but it's not. There's nothing out there to Google really, other than a past Kickstarter that didn't get funded, so it got other funding apparently. Should be able to reveal more this week. I can say this: that if it goes well. If these 3 episodes are well received, let's put it that way, then an entire season will be greenlit. And so.
Is it shooting down there in Texas?
It's animated. No, it's not shooting. I don't have anything to do with the shooting.
No.
So.
Oh, okay.
So
hunting around, diligent hunting around on Kickstarter might reveal more details about who's involved in.
Yeah, that stuff. I forget the director's names, but they're working on it right now. I mean, it's got its funding and so forth, at least for those first 3 episodes.
If memory serves, this is the one that the concept art was circulating around for before. That was insanely cool.
Well, I'm hoping to be able to view a clip of that later this week, and I know at some kind of convention on the 25th they're revealing a clip. I don't know where, don't remember where.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I better say for now. But this will be the place to go. You'll be able to find out more about it at Lovecraft Easy, and what they're doing sounds great. So.
Okay, was this Lux, the Lux Digital Pictures people?
I don't know. I was on the phone for an hour and a half with the producer guy for the other day, but we didn't get that. We didn't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Because there was a Mountains of Madness animated feature campaign last year, and that looked really, really, really cool, and it was really a shame that it didn't. But they had pretty high goal, and I don't know. You have 233 backers. You had 14,000, but they were looking for 175. Well, we could be talking about 2 different things.
If this is, I believe this is the one that got morphed into a web series instead of a animated feature film.
Okay. There's quite a few of these going on. The people from Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom are going to be bringing a preview for a film festival. They're not going to show the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
It's world premiering the following month. Different thing, but yeah, another Lovecraft cold animation thing. We're heading towards some sort of a harmonic convergence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's that.
Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to talk about, apparently Nook is headed for the grave.
Yeah, March 5th, was it March 15th or 16th?
Something like that.
To cut off to save your stuff?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's the apps or the books, but either way, it's only a matter of time. It's dead. It just doesn't know it yet, or it does know it, but it's fighting it. And I posted about this on my Facebook page the other day, and I said something effective. I predicted this several years ago, and I think one or two commenters missed the point. They're saying, ebook sales are down, print's never going away. That wasn't my point. This isn't really about ebooks versus print books, because print books are not going away, and Kindle books are not going away, but Nook certainly is. So, and I love both, but.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because Nook was totally a bridge too far as proprietary thing, and it was like Betamax. It could have won and become the standard, but it wasn't, mutually compatible with everything else. I mean, Kindle blends so seamlessly. The Mobi files blend so seamlessly with phone and everything else. Yeah, they won, and it did feel that way, but it felt like Barnes & Noble was never really 100%. They were never really fervent advocates for the Nook. It always felt like something they were kind of shamed or embarrassed or tricked into putting out.
Yeah, they were like, well, it felt like to me exactly like that. They're like, well, Kindle, Amazon's got Kindle, we better do something too, instead of concentrating on what they were good at, which is print, brick and mortar.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. It vibed the same way as the Barnes & Noble website. It just, in every respect. I mean, and the attendees, you look at reader reviews on Barnes & Noble's site versus Amazon. It's like there's 1/5, 1/10 as many. People tend to be crankier and less thoughtful about books. It's like everybody's kind of trying to breeze through there and just get their stuff and get out without really. It's not really a place anybody lives. It's not really a technology anybody's comfortable with. It's not really, it's not a community. It's not a thing. Not like the way the store is. Because I worked at Barnes & Noble for several years.
Oh yeah, the brick and mortar stores are awesome.
Love the stores. We used to do events and stuff there, and book clubs and things like that. And it was a place to come and hang out. It was a livable place. And
that same analogy came to my mind that you said a minute ago, Cody. VHS versus Betamax. It seemed exactly like that. And even several years ago, I was thinking, I'm not going to spend my money building up a library of digital Barnes & Noble Nook books, because I know this is going away at this point. There's no way they're going to beat Amazon Kindle. There's no way. It would be like building up a huge library of beta movies. You know? They're useless for the most part. So.
Yeah, or buying a book that you can only read with special glasses, and then you break those special glasses, and then you're just looking at a piece of a pile of very uncomfortable toilet paper.
Damn it, that is a great plot. You should write a story about that.
My books make themselves into toilet paper, Mike, without my help. But if it isn't a versatile, friendly thing that lives with you, and the creator's intent really, or lack of intent, really did kind of bleed through. It's weird that it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a digital book guy. So.
Well, as I said, I love both for various reasons, and it's not about digital versus print. It's about
reading.
Nook versus Kindle.
Yeah.
So someone else mentioned on that comment thread that, well, Kindle sales have gone down, meaning the Kindle device. It's like, well, that's not a surprise either. Of course they've gone down. You can get the Kindle software for free. My son's Samsung phone, his screen is almost as big as my Kindle. Why would he buy a Kindle?
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to buy a dedicated one, but phones moved in that direction. So then I've got an iPhone 6. If I can't buy something, if I can't get a hard copy of it, or my interest in it is really kind of fleeting, then absolutely, I'll get it as a Mobi file and just read it on my phone. But having one other thing, it's just a book that you're afraid to ever drop, and if it doesn't do other stuff, It is kind of weird. The thing that happened when Amazon had thought they had rights to a book, and then you'd go to your Kindle to read 1984 or something, and it's vanished.
Yeah.
Those kind of things put me off, maybe really mistrustful of digital books to begin with, because if you can lose the rights to a book and then yank it out of people's houses, you can revise the book, you can change it, you can go back into a history book, and the current standards can rewrite what was in the book, and that's kind of the beauty of print, is that the truth is still out there, and I think it would do something. If print really kind of failed to have a strenuous, passionate advocacy, I think truth itself would suffer, because there would be no real a metaphor. It's a great physical metaphor for something that's true is true, whether or not you're looking at it, whether or not you believe it, whether or not you reaffirm it. It's there.
Okay, reality is what is still there after, whether you believe in it or not, or something to that effect.
Exactly. It would change to the Robert Anton Wilson definition, which is reality is whatever you can get away with.
And the real nice thing about print books, and again, I'm in the middle. There's strengths and weaknesses for both. But the thing about Kindle books is that you can't have Cody Goodfellow draw a little doodle on your inside cover of that book. So
that's right. That's right. I've seen people who've had their Kindle signed, which is really neat. But it's like, it's like signing a surfboard or signing the side of a blender, I guess, if you're a famous alcoholic. But
there's this trend at horror shows. They do the horror shows and they have a tattoo parlor at the horror show.
Yeah.
I've seen multiple people go get chests, breasts, thighs, autographed by some celebrity, and then they run over to the tattoo parlor and get a tattoo.
Yeah, no, I think the coolest one was there was a signing, a Clive Barker signing, I think, when he was the first time he came to the States for Books of Blood, and somebody actually slashed their palm, and held it out to him like they were just overcome with excitement and just had to wound themselves. And he very calmly reached across the desk, dipped the pen into the person's wound, and signed the book with it. I mean, there's fascinating. I worked at a used bookstore, and it was the most rewarding work experience I ever had, because even over and above just the beauty of books and what people put into them, there's the things that end up in them. I'm a huge fan of ephemera, and my buddy Ricky Grove, who you may know from William the Red in Army of Darkness, he also works at Iliad, has an enormous collection of ephemera, the weird stuff that shows up in books. I mean, when you open up a book, open up a book, and there's a weird random photograph of, hey, look, I'm horribly burned, or.
Are you kidding me? Is that a real thing? Where did you find? What book did you find?
These are Polaroids that I found inside.
Holy shit!
I think they were art studies. I think they're art studies. But one time inside Jaws, somebody just an old paperback. Early, but not first, paperback edition, mass market edition of Jaws. Some lady stuck a note that said, "Hey, when the shark eats somebody, next time can you make me a vodka gimlet?" And that little throwaway thing, that little interaction became a part of that book that'll always be there. Just the other day, I was at the bookstore and I opened up a book and a card fell out. I don't have the physical card. I left it there, but I took a picture of it. It was an invitation to David Bowie and Imam's wedding in Florence. That somebody was using as a bookmark and forgot it, and then ended up sending away the thing. I have a roach clip that belongs to Graham Nash somewhere around here, because it was inside. It was inside a book that Graham Nash of a lot of books that Graham Nash dumped at the stuff. So I mean, you're never gonna find a famous celebrity roach clip inside a Kindle file.
No, you're not. So Kenneth Brown on the message board asks,
what the hell is the roach clip?
Yeah, that too. Isn't just the Nook devices and non-book apps going away? The news seem kind of hazy on the details. It would be a shame if they shut everything down, since the ebook app works on all devices. I think my point is this. it's so much in the air that I wouldn't build up a library of EPUB books myself.
It's worrisome that they're telling you to archive all of your stuff.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
if they're not going to have it there for when you back it up. I mean, like we were talking about the Barnes and Noble and Nook and Amazon and Kindle and what these things are. iPod sales fell off, but people still buy music through iTunes.
Right.
And so whether or not they still support the hardware, whether or not they still release books in Nook editions, or whether they're just going to knuckle under and start selling a generic Mobi file, it's really weird. But yeah, if you are passionate about Nook, I would definitely back up everything and put it next to all of your Limp Bizkit CDs, because they're probably not coming back. But
yeah, that's exactly one of what I don't want to do. I don't have to worry about. I mean, Amazon. I can lose my devices. I can stomp on them. Doesn't matter. My book's still waiting there for me.
Right.
So.
And wasn't there a case where a woman moved from Great Britain to Germany, and she lost everything on her
Nook or on her Kindle?
On her Kindle.
Yeah, because
there are problems that have come up. I'm just speaking in generally by and large.
Well, yeah, because let's say now you guys are in America. You can go to YouTube and post Bob Dylan videos or any Columbia CBS product because it's licensed there. It's all blocked here. So there wasn't somebody who had a vast library, and when they came here, of course, now all their connections are from whatever's here, and it was tons of it was blocked. It wasn't licensed here, so their stuff just disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah.
It can't
she had
happen.
to fight to get it back, and she couldn't. Because I guess technically Amazon and Amazon UK and Amazon DE are all slightly different companies with different rules.
Yeah, there are licensing issues based upon what country you're in.
Now let me go the other route, and I can speak to this as a person. I'm almost 45 years old, and in my life I've lived through, my house has burned down twice. Once when I was a kid, once when I was an adult, and lost all my books both times. I've always been a huge book collector. So this is why I'm firmly in the middle. This is why I repeat that there's strengths and weaknesses to both. You're right, Pete, that this can happen. You're right, Joe, this can happen on the digital side. On the other side, twice I've lost all my physical books because the house burned down. It's so, like everything else, like a lot of things, this is why I don't get into political discussions or stuff like that, because I get both sides. I get both sides pissed off at me because it's neither, like, well, both of you have a point. They're like, screw you.
I'm talking about one thing that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, and like Cody said with 1984, contracts are signed, so you might have A, B, and C as Kindle books, and Amazon or the contract with whoever expires, and they don't want to let anybody do it. Those books could disappear.
And then think about this: your Kindle collection is not inheritable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can't resell them. You can't find them in a garage sale. You can't forget them and leave them on a bus. You can't give them to somebody. And that's it's not an artifact. It's a license to have the thing.
This monster's 40 years old almost.
Okay, words of Shakespeare. Yeah.
So's this. Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
Where oil comes from. This was the first book that I owned, and I still have the vinyl record insert.
Aww.
Oh.
Yes, Jack in the Box. Jack sings a happy song with his uncle who owns one oil well, and thus explains to you why the gas crisis is happening.
Little Cody Goodfellow. I was just trying to imagine that in my brain started to melt.
I was just trying to imagine how much more screwed up I'd be if I didn't have everything I've ever owned still in my room. Wait. Maybe I wouldn't be screwed up. If my house burns down tonight, it's all on you, Davis.
Yeah, I know. I'm
It
bad luck
didn't
when it
sound
comes
like
to
a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We don't want Cody Goodfellow's house to burn down because that way, after the film festival, he won't be able to work on his new novel. Which
Yeah, well.
Cody Goodfellow decided if sparkly vampires are a hit, what about rainbow-colored Shuggas?
Ooh.
Man.
Well,
I gotta write that down. Hang on.
Rainbow-colored, I'm telling you right now, rainbow-colored Shuggas is going to be the next hot ticket to become a multimillionaire writer.
I don't know. I'm thinking if I went more like the cuddly werewolf tickle party route, I could head off the furry contingent at the pass.
Well, look, if you're not going to do Rainbow Shuggas, I am.
Okay, you can. We can have cuddly werewolf tickle party versus rainbow rainbow Shoggoth omnibus, and yeah. We'll have every idiot man-child in America camping out on our
Should there not be sparkly vampires in there someplace?
No, but we probably will have some like whale-sized sharks. Only the top part above the water is a shark. What's below is like a battleship or a submarine or something, though. So it's this like mechanical, biological device, and you know they could be a subplot that develops into another series.
So what?
Giant emu lemurs.
Oh man!
What,
yeah.
Pete?
You know.
Go for it, Pete.
But they have to.
Cyber shark octopus. I mean, what?
Say what?
Cyber sharktopus.
Yeah. There you go, Pete.
No.
You guys are going to regret this. You guys give away too many rainbow Shoggoths. You guys give away too many good ideas on this show for all the writers listening.
Well, we were just talking about the heartbreak of intellectual property of books that should have been public domain before we were born that are still somehow fobbed around and traded like pieces. How can we fight that except by giving out solid gold ideas like this for free?
Yeah.
Yes. Rainbow Shoggoths for the people.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see it now. There's going to be an upcoming.
Paul is already doing a couple of chapbooks based on this, I'm sure.
It's yeah.
Well, we could do an anthology. Rainbow Shoggoths. You know, just a whole.
In hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, you think about it. We were talking about something similar to this before. We were talking about Charles Grant. You know, we come up with X amount of ideas within this particular universe, like Rainbow Shuggoths and whatnot, and each writer would write a different story using this or that and this, you know.
I want to do an all mythos Teletubbies tribute anthology.
Wasn't there in that one collection from Tor? I think there was a story by Gain Wilson in which HPL lived and saw his creations become Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember the one you're talking about.
And that that's how he made the most money, by selling out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But hey.
I don't know. We could have a mythos book where all the big beasties wear just gold lame.
Well, you know, you're getting into an area. You know, there's a lot of kitty mythos in Japanese anime.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think there's one where Nyarlathotep is a girl at an all-girls prep school.
Well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I mean, but we've also had Cthulhu on Ghostbusters.
Right.
Right.
Asamatsu Ken's Tsethagwa novel really felt to me like it played like an anime.
Yeah.
There's also a series of
The
books.
Ken Yan one. Yeah, sorry.
There's a series of books here in the U.S. called Lovecraft Middle School.
Are they just using the name the way that Batman used Arkham Asylum, or
no? Because they don't. They end up with like my teacher's as a praying mantis and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. I read the first one because they asked me to, but
Well, I'm still bummed that, that one chick, I fucked Cthulhu, and I fucked Nyarlathotep, and I fucked the Shoggoth, and I fucked Amigo. I mean, my God, I wanted to cash in on that.
Wait. You mean like the pounded in the butt by my own butt kind of novelty books?
No, there's a booty call of Cthulhu.
Oh, for crying out loud!
And it's like
there's one chick out there who's got I fucked Bigfoot and I fucked the
iTunes on this episode. The iTunes rating just changed.
Yeah, see, I'd never say. Yeah, way to go, Joe. See, I'd never said.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I banged Bigfoot. I banged the Phantom of the Opera. I banged Cthulhu.
He already broke the 7-second delay. He's going back and he's trying to hand bleep the your F-bomb.
If you only knew what work I go through when I record this to iTunes, and I mean to actually go through and beep each. I mean.
Oh really?
Full-time job. No.
Your hand's just not over the buzzer every time Joe opens his mouth.
Well, what was the one that I didn't read it the other day, but I saw it? Pound It in the Butt by Pluto.
See, I never say just across the board ad hoc. No, don't do that. Except for stuff with children, and then I don't want to talk to you. And if you bring that up in the first place, with the erotica ones, we had a reading of the Tyrannosaurus CEO one. It wasn't even the problem was the Tyrannosaurus bent the victim over the table with his powerful masculine arms. It doesn't even follow. It's not. Yeah. The Tyrannosaurus had giant masculine arms, Mike. The credibility completely sailed out the window. I was with them up to that point.
Even the girl dinosaur.
Sadly, there were no girls. Apparently,
this whole series of I bang this monster or that monster.
Well, it's the laziness. That's what I'm crying out about.
This series, is written at a level that makes 50 Shades of Grey read like Dostoevsky.
Wow.
Only. Outside of they're actually, getting together physically. See, I didn't say fuck. A bang. I mean, I didn't say bang. That was an aoral delusion on your part, Davis.
It was a what kind of delusion?
Just
aoral delusion.
For those listening later, I just rolled my eyes. You can't see that, so yeah, go ahead.
Mike Davis rolls his eyes every time I talk. Or yawns. You should see him yawn. He puts his fingers up to his mouth and oh shit.
Where's Nick?
But you're still talking. Yeah, but you're still talking.
Of course I talk.
Yeah.
That's one of my functions on this show. It's not just to look pretty every week.
I just realized that Rick's been sitting there listening to all this and is probably thinking, Jesus, what a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. Well, Rick's the only sane decent one here, so...
What is this show deteriorated into?
I was thinking that myself.
I thought Rick recorded a GIF loop and left a half hour ago.
Well, what do you think it deteriorated
just
into?
Sigh.
And me here.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that this
I'm here to raise the tone.
This show would be 100% better if Nikki Gerlain was here.
If who?
Nikki Gerlain.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, what about Molly? Wait a minute. Let's pick on Molly Tanzer for a minute. Molly?
But Molly does not fill my Facebook page with porn every day.
Yeah.
No, I'm not complaining. But
I was going to say. And
Oh, Nikki does?
oh yeah,
with
Okay.
with sunshine and exploding booby gifts. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, she likes erotic gifs. That's what you call them, right? GIFs.
yep, gifts.
GIFs.
Well,
Okay.
I'm not sure how we got here, but maybe we should give away Pete's book.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're again. I'll do the drawing a week from today, and you're giving away Charles Grant's Dark
The Dark
Cry.
Cry of the Night. It's a werewolf novel.
Okay.
Um,
And it's a hardcover.
it's a hardcover. It's a limited edition
Oh, nice.
from Donald M. Grant. It's not signed, so it is. It is set in
So Donald
Oxford
Grant
Station.
published it. And, yeah, they're not related, by the way, but he published several Grant books.
Yeah.
Charles Grant
So
books.
it is a little rough, as we say in the trade. Rough trade. See what I did
Rough
there?
trade. Oh
Okay, I
boy.
see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's elevate the show.
If you would like to be in the drawing for this book, thank you, Pete, for giving this away. If you'd like to be in the drawing for this book, send an email to lovecraftezingprizes@gmail.com. All together, thank you. I think I'm mad every time I say that now.
All together.
Lovecraftezingprizes@gmail.com, and please put the title
All
of the
together.
book. Yeah, all together.
Oh, I thought on the
Please
subject
put the
line
title
you
of
were
the
gonna
book
tell
in
them
the. Please put the title of the book in the email. The subject of the email, excuse me. Dark Cry of what again? I'm sorry.
The night. The night.
The Dark Cry of the Night. Put that in the subject. You can put whatever you want in the body of the
Wouldn't
email.
it be easier if they just typed rough trade?
I don't think they'll be be entered in the drawing that way, but yeah, it would be
Oh,
easier.
That'll take you to Pete's day job.
Oh, nice. Well done, Cody. If you weren't my biggest client, I would.
I'm sorry. I can't resist. I can't resist whacking them for all I'm worth when I'm seeing them sitting at the putting green at the mini golf either.
Yeah, well.
That's why I'm not allowed back there.
All right. Well, we can keep talking after the show here, but I will let everybody go. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next week. Next week is Paul Tremblay is our guest, A Head Full of Ghosts, a book that an obscure writer by the name of Stephen King seemed to really like. So we'll talk with Paul next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.